One of the best career strategies I have created for myself is asking, how would a middle aged white man named Richard talk about this? And the reason I say it is because so often I've noticed myself minimize my experience and downplay the impact that my work has had. And that resulted in me being so low on the list of promotions or people considered leadership material that it kind of got frustrating. Because if you're anything like me, then you probably have very strong work ethic, you have high standards for yourself, and you really make sure that you deliver high quality work all the time. But why is it that that work does not translate into being recognized, being seen, or being promoted? And the reason is that the skill and the actual work quality is only part of the story. And actually, a big part of the story in corporate and in career more generally is your positioning, your visibility, and how people perceive you. And that's what made me realize that me softening my language all the time and saying, for example, that I helped with this thing as opposed to I co-led it, which was very true. I just didn't want to brag or seem like I'm just trying to sound more senior than I am, but factually, if you think about it, what you have done is co-led, so why don't you just say it? And I think there's so many reasons to it. There's personal ones, like how were you raised? Were you raised to be modest all the time at the expense of not actually accurately representing what you're capable of and what you've done? Were you socialized by gender roles to always be soft and problematic and not too assertive because then you'll be called bossy as a woman? Is it that for you personally, you feel like the value of humility is very important, but then that also extends to you not being confident at work and not speaking about your skills the way that you actually deserve to? All of that stuff, a combination of it, or maybe a particular cause, could have led to you underpositioning yourself at work and really downplaying what you have done. So in this video, I want to talk about the white middle-aged man named Richard method that I have created for myself, but not so that you pretend to be someone else. You don't have to become Richard, but it's just to stop you from self-minimizing and underplaying your expertise, experience, and value. And aspect number one that I personally looked at in myself when I have realized that this is a problem is my language. Two things that I noticed were, in particular, over apologizing, saying sorry all the time, even when there was nothing to apologize for. For example, if I were to follow up with someone and ask for the thing that they were supposed to send me, say yesterday, so they're delaying the work and it's kind of on them to be proactively apologizing and explaining why it's being delayed. But instead, I reach out and I'm being so apologetic to just follow up and ask if by any chance they could possibly give me the thing that is stalling the whole project that we need to continue. So why am I the one apologizing, right? And if you're British, if you're in the UK, you know full well that apologizing is just a way of life. But if you're anywhere else, or if you're not British yourself, it's not even a cultural thing. It's just taking on someone else's responsibility as if it's your own and feeling guilty because you ask for someone to be fulfilling their job responsibilities. It sounds very, I don't know, it sounds a bit harsh when I say it out loud like that. But the best thing you can do is let that person be responsible for the thing, and you can be as polite as you want, you can be as nice as you want about it and understanding because things come up. It doesn't mean that you have to be, but it does mean that it's not on you to apologize, and you can just follow up and ask when they'll be completing the task that you're waiting on. You don't have to lead with, I am so sorry to bother you, I'm sorry to disturb, apologies, it's coming to you at the end of the day, but by any chance, could you give me this thing that you have delayed? No, it's not on you. It's not on you. So get rid of that apologetic language. Wherever it comes through for you, you don't have to be apologizing for the things that you didn't do wrong. And that would also make your apology, if you genuinely have messed up, it will make it stronger, because if you're not apologizing all the time, then when you do apologize, it actually has value. Otherwise, being the sorry, sorry, sorry all the time person, it just gets exhausting, and it kind of blends into the background of like the baseline of your language. So then it doesn't actually have any impact. It just overall makes you sound very hesitant and very insecure. Second thing I'm also very guilty of, and I'm trying to work on, it's adding words like just, kind of, maybe, possibly, could you maybe think about, all of the stuff that sounds hesitant and sounds like you're not taking a stance and you're really like probing very carefully with a stick as opposed to just fully asking or suggesting or recommending. This kind of language might be the reason why sometimes you have suggested an idea and then that was just completely overlooked. And then 5 minutes later, someone else suggests it in a confident way and then it gets taken on and people receive it very well. And you think, well, Richard, haven't I just said that 5 minutes ago? But the way that you say things, your communication, the delivery really matters for the way that the idea itself is perceived. And if you suggest it very tentatively, very cautiously, people will not have confidence in it. In the same way, if you talk about your work experience, if you talk about yourself, think about looks and how people carry themselves. If they enter the room with the body language of someone who's confident, who loves themselves, who really is comfortable in their own skin, then you will perceive them that way as well. They will kind of seem more attractive, more confident, and more everything else to you just because they are projecting that into the space. In the same way, the way you communicate your ideas, the way you give recommendations, I really feel that pretty much 80% of the reaction to it will depend on the way you deliver it, not on the idea itself. So polish up your language to make sure that the way you speak and suggest ideas is clear, it's confident, and it's direct, and it doesn't just go around and hides in the bushes before being tentatively suggested. Next up, the way you talk about your achievements really matters, not only in performance reviews, but also to kind of prepare the grounds throughout the year, because I do think that promotions heavily rely on the way people perceive you as a person. And actually, in the same way that with language, the confidence and the delivery is 80% of the result, I think here it's very much the same. So when you talk about your achievements, make sure that you don't just say the facts or the tasks of what you did, but make sure to build that up to show the impact that it's had and show the long-term effects and the benefits that the company will have, like trust from your clients or trust from other teams in the space. Or maybe it's the reputation in the industry. Maybe it's sales, or it could be some other quantitative KPIs that maybe your firm has, key performance indicators, or the goals that they might have and they want to hit. Any way that you can tie what you've been doing to the outcomes that actually matter to people who make decisions in your company will serve you really, really well. And a simple structure you can use to talk about your achievements or something that you've done is 1, talk about what you did. Remember the language. 2, talk about the result, the outcome. And then finally, talk about the impact that it's had. All of those higher level, bigger picture things that really, really matter to leadership. Next up, meetings and speaking up. I know that we all struggle with this. I started off in my career being super quiet and barely even asking a question or speaking a word. I would find it so hard to kind of get into the space if there is a group setting and there are already people who are quite actively speaking. I would be terrified to put my hand up or to just voice an idea that I have. And now I'm at a point where I'm way more comfortable doing that. I can create space for myself to speak. I can switch between my natural introverted observer and listener mode and actually leading, facilitating, and speaking up, which, as it turns out, I actually really enjoy. I just had to step out of my shell a little bit and explore that. And here are a few tips that I would give you if you're starting in the same position, being quite timid and quiet and not making space for your voice to be heard. 1 is don't wait to be invited. I think if you wait, it will just never happen. You have to take on the responsibility of adding your voice to the mix. And I think it's a very tough thing to kind of lean into because some of us have been raised to really respect authority and you almost don't speak unless they invite your opinion. And I think it's culturally dependent. So of course it will change if you're in a different culture that is very hierarchical. But if you're in the UK, in the US, in Western cultures generally, then it's very likely that those cultures actually value someone proactively speaking over waiting to just be invited. And there's lots of ways tactically to indicate that you want to speak. I know it might be awkward if you're more junior than the people in the room, but even asking and saying, I just had a reflection, I wonder if I could share it, and then they can be the ones to almost greenlight it, but you have initiated it. You can also write it in the chat if you're online, if you're on Teams, if you're on Zoom, and just say that, Just had a thought, I wonder if I could share it at the end of the meeting or when there is a pause. There's so many ways that you can subtly ask for that space. You don't actually have to go straight into, saying what you want to say, but you can ask for that space to be created, but the initiation has to be in your hands. Otherwise, you can be waiting forever. Second tip, I've already talked about in one of my other videos about how to speak up in meetings, which you might enjoy watching. And the tip is to start speaking earlier, and that will give you a better chance of being more comfortable speaking later on in the meeting. The life hack that that I've been using a lot, is to get to a meeting early and make small talk with the people who also arrive early. Because first of all, it gives you a more comfortable introverted space, which is usually a couple of people max. Secondly, it's a low pressure environment because you're just making small talk. It's not about the topic of the meeting yet. And you can almost practice using your voice with the people who'll be in the space. And subconsciously, it will make you a bit more okay, a bit more comfortable. It warms you up to the idea, and it also warms other people up to the fact that you do speak and you're not just going to stay quiet. And it's way more normal for them to then hear your voice again than if you've been silent for like the past 2 years of your job and then out of nowhere you're carving out space to speak. It will be a shock to the system, and I think that will make it harder for yourself and for others to also be, not awkward about it. So speak as soon as you can, even if it's just small talk, even if it's just, how was your weekend? Very basic, very standard corporate stuff. But make your voice heard sooner rather than later. It will open up the door for you to speak later on. Final thing, and it's not something that I've mentioned in that other video that I've recorded, but it has come to me that one other strategy that I've been using is, say if you had a thought, you've had a reflection, you had a suggestion that kind of came to you, but it was too late for you to say it out loud in the meeting. You can always follow up with the relevant person afterwards. If it's your manager, for example, ideal, you probably have regular check-ins with them already. You can bring it to the next meeting and say, by the way, I've had this reflection in that meeting. I just haven't had a chance to voice it. I wonder if I could share it with you. Or if it's someone who you don't typically work with, it could be actually a great way to network and a great way to get connected with them and say that, by the way, I know we were in that meeting together. I had a thought about what you were saying on topic X. I wonder if we could meet for a coffee chat and I could share it, and also just we can get to know each other a bit better. Not all is lost if you didn't say the thing in the exact moment. There's so many opportunities to note down your ideas. If they're genuinely good and you think it could be valuable for someone to hear it, bring it back and use other opportunities to interact with those people. Don't just think that this is your one and only chance to be known, to contribute, to be seen. You can try and build up your comfort level of contribution through other ways that are maybe not as time pressured, not as in the moment. Maybe there were many people speaking all the time and you found it a bit hard to slide in and make space, which I understand because I'm the same. But don't waste your contribution just because you didn't manage to get it in that one time. So think about other ways, expand your options. By the way, if this is resonating, I've made something that might be useful for you. It's a quiet authority audit and it's a short quiz, takes about 3 minutes. It's for people like you who are introverted but want to really step into their leadership potential and their expertise, but perhaps feel that they're under-positioning themselves and not really selling themselves enough to be recognized, to be rewarded. If that sounds like you, if it would be helpful for you to pinpoint exactly where that gap is between where you're at and what you're doing and being recognized, valued, promoted, whatever it is that you want to achieve in your role, then the link is in the description down below, and I hope that it's helpful for you. And to close this video off, just a little pep talk to say that this is not something that can be fixed instantly. I am still on this journey. You'll probably be on this journey for years and years to come, but I can really promise you that if you intentionally try and work at it, if you intentionally try and untangle the different insecurities that lead to you being so shy and so overly modest in your language, then you can make incredible progress fairly quickly. And that can have tangible impact on your career, from recognition, to promotion, to just generally feeling like you're being valued in your job a bit more and you're being seen as the experts that you probably are in your craft. All of those things are very possible. It's just a matter of practice, knowing exactly what to tweak and how, and easing into it and believing that you can get there. Because I've improved so much. I know so many people who have improved so much. And if you enjoyed this video, I think you will enjoy watching this one, which is all about the strategies for speaking up in meetings and how to address that dread that you have that leads you to staying quiet and not contribute. You can watch it right here, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.